Although the clergymen of medieval Europe make it seem as though the Vikingar appeared on the scene quite suddenly, their time on the world stage, the Viking Age, between 750 and 1050, was the result of a longue durée, or, in terms not borrowed from my grad school days, the result of several centuries of events and trauma that reshaped the North and set the stage for them. The dwindling of the Western Roman Empire, a real-world Ragnarok in the form of apocalyptic eruptions, and Fimbulwinter, a harsh, dark winter, and the halls and retinues that rose from those ashes. These events, which took place between the years 400 and 750, created the hall-based warrior elite culture that produced the Vikingar and delivered their era of expansionism. If you're a history buff, then you've probably already seen maps with the Roman Empire being barraged by an absurd amount of arrows descending from the north. If you haven't, here's one. For most people, this period is frustratingly characterized by, quote, barbarian tribes that supposedly wreaked havoc on the Roman Empire, reducing it to ruin. But that stereotypical and simplified image is largely the result of outdated, one-sided history that continues to plague public opinion. The fall of the Western Roman Empire was itself a longue durée, a gradual, inconsistent decline marked by a plethora of both internal and external factors unfolding over several centuries. Furthermore, the people of the North, as a whole, weren't actually arch enemies of the empire. Yes, there was a powerful minority of elites from the North who actively tried to tear down the already weakening empire in order to carve new kingdoms out of its corpse. But for ordinary people, trading and interacting with the empire was simply a staple of daily life. As a result, when that very empire began to destabilize and northern elites pounced on the opportunity like hungry hounds, life in the north also descended into a state of uncertainty, as once reliable trade routes changed, markets shifted, and people moved to meet them. As Neil Price puts it, quote, most people were looking for economic security, safety, and a quieter life, while a powerful minority were trying to proactively shape a world more to their liking, end quote. The dwindling of the Western Roman Empire thus created opportunities for those local elites to pursue their political ambitions and create a new landscape for themselves. That, in turn, forced people to move and adapt, forming new identities and ethnicities. Yet, such change was not easy. Between 400 and 550, the people of the north struggled to adapt as their settlements declined and woodlands reclaimed their abandoned farmland. The reasons for that are, of course, manifold. One of them is that the north was consumed by internal insecurity as local elites vied for power, a reality attested by the 1,500-plus fortifications known in the north from this period. Without the influence and economic reliability of the empire, the North was reordering itself into something new as local elites competed for control over resources and markets. There was a power vacuum, and many sought to fill it. At least 40 to 50 different polities, or small kingdoms, were established during this period. Still, such traumatic conditions, the sharp decline in settlements, could hardly be caused by political strife alone. Indeed, catastrophic eruptions also troubled the north at this time in quick succession, in 535, 539/40, and possibly again in 547. These eruptions didn't actually occur in Europe, but rather in the tropics of the distant south, and yet their aftermath impacted the entire globe. The eruption of 535, for instance, occurred at Lake Ilopango in modern-day El Salvador. At first glance, it's hard to imagine a volcano from such a place ever bothering the north, let alone Europe. Nevertheless, a worried statesman from northern Italy with a long Latin name, Flavius Magnus Aurelius Cassiodorus Senator, once described a haunting dust veil that swept over the land in late 536. Who will not be disturbed and deeply curious about such events if something mysterious and unusual seems to be coming at us from the stars? How strange it is, I ask you, to see the principal star and not its usual brightness. Winter is rendered drier and colder than its wont. Hence the air, condensed from snow by excessive cold, is not thinned by the sun's fire, but it endures in the density it has acquired, obstructs the heat of the sun, and cheats the gaze of human frailty. Such lavish words are but a single sample of the many contemporary sources that decried similar woes across the world of antiquity, as the pre-medieval world is often called. It was, as many academics now say, quote, one of the most severe natural disasters to have occurred over the last 2 millennia, end quote. That's a big deal. For the North, this disaster was like a nuclear winter with effects that lasted for at least 3 years. Toxic air filled their skies, blocking the sun, withering trees, stunting growth, and trapping them in the clutches of a relentless, unseasonal cold. Already on the limits of sustainability, their crops failed to produce harvests, leading to famine, riots, and civil unrest. Farmland was abandoned as people perished, and the survivors fought each other over what little was left, whether they were kin or not. To them, it must have seemed as though the world was coming to an end, a traumatic experience that's probably echoed in their mythology. Brothers will fight one another and kill one another. Cousins will break peace with one another. The world will be a hard place to live in. It will be an age of adultery, an age of the axe, an age of the sword, an age of storms, an age of wolves. Shields will be cloven. Before the world sinks in the sea, there will be no man left who is true to another. The sun turns black, the earth sinks into the sea, the bright stars fall out of the sky, flames scorch the leaves of Yggdrasil. A great bonfire reaches to the highest clouds.